microphone. Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Kelly. Good to see you again. We're kind of doing this impromptu new series because we wanted to make sure that we're bringing you as much information as humanly possible to help alleviate some stress for maybe an upcoming PCS. So today I'm really excited to introduce you to the first of many of our Agent Hero real estate agents. So what we're going to do, this is my plan, is to talk about San Diego. There are a lot of duty stations there, and I have the most amazing person. First of all, selfishly, she's so busy because there's so much happening right now. We didn't have time to like chit chat and like catch up. She's a dear friend of mine. We met and hung out and had great times once upon a time at a conference. But so we're going to spend a little time getting reacquainted if you guys will just bear with us. But I'm going to bring on screen my friend Molly Winkle. Hey, Molly.
Hi.
Okay, so let me see. I got my microphones. Good. Okay, I'm just checking all my settings, you guys. How are you? How are things?
Things are busy, oddly enough. It's hilarious. So, but we're killing it. It's finally sunny out, so I'm happy. Quarantine when it's rainy in sunny San Diego doesn't make any sense at all. It was terrible, but we're spoiled by it, but we're good now.
Gotta be the worst. Yeah, we've been blessed with a good bit of sunshine. A couple of tornadoes randomly the other day, but I know it's like, get us a break, Mother Nature. Yeah. So I kind of pitched this idea. We were rolling this around like, okay, first of all, we've been doing this Baseside chat series up until this point. We're bringing on, subject matter experts and all kinds of really great guests to talk about kind of higher level stuff. But we haven't been able to talk a lot about PCSing because we don't know where that stands, right? Like there's so much ambiguity about,
Right.
When can we move? How can we move? Can we buy homes? We've got folks that are displaced because they had a contract out on a house and now their orders got pushed back. And so we had to kind of take a moment, regroup, make sure that we were providing content that makes sense for people that need it right now. So now what I'm thinking is people need information as much as they can handle before they move, because they're not going to have the luxury, if they even did before, they're not going to have the luxury of this like lengthy timeline. We say lengthy. We know that's like it's military lengthy, but they're losing the opportunity to kind of get there firsthand. So I would love, first of all, to give you an opportunity to just kind of introduce yourself. Tell us about your setting. I love what's happening here in the background because I just think that's rad. First and foremost, I want to tell you guys, Molly is one of our agent heroes. What that means is that she has been specifically vetted to suit your needs as military families who are PCSing by MILLIE. She has a long list of other certifications that she can tell you about that qualifies her for this job. But the first thing that we look for in our agents is their military affiliation. So they have to either be a veteran, a military spouse, or have actually PCSed. Molly fits all of those billets and then some. So I will let her tell you a little bit more about herself. So go for it, Molly. Take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a military spouse. I'm a veteran, and then I'm also a military mom. So I half jokingly tell people all the time that I cuss like a sailor because I am one, married one, and raised one. And so we're still an active duty family. My son is stationed up at Camp Pendleton. My husband is down here at 32nd Street. And so I'm still living this life right alongside everybody. We're like everybody else where we've moved from California to Hawaii, Hawaii to Maryland, Maryland to California, all over in between within the states. And so not my first rodeo. And I take all of that experience and use it to help my clients, especially the ones that are PCSing and doing long distance relocation, because it's a different animal. So, and the buyer perspective, we purchased our home in Maryland from Hawaii. And then I bought the house in California that we're in now while my husband was deployed. So he came home and got to see his house for the first time 4 months after we bought it. So
wow. I had a power of attorney once upon a time because I didn't know if my husband would be able to travel to sign the closing, and that was a nightmare having to sign everything like Kelly Artis by proxy.
Stressful. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Your hand is all cramped by the end of it. It's just, but it can be done, and we do it all the time. Lucky for me, I've done it so many times, like I said, personally, and then I help a lot of our service members that are moving to the area. And I've done that so much that now everyone has kind of turned into that, because we're doing virtual showings. I'm like, make sure that you check out the pictures really well. I will go in and do a showing like this behind, behind everything, to really give you an idea of what's wrong with the property, right? Because nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
And so, but now all of my clients have turned into the equivalent of long distance relocation. So
it's so funny. Yeah. So we were talking, we mentioned that before, and we were kind of talking offline about what in the world are we going to, what's the most helpful thing? And then the funny thing was, Molly's like, well, now it's just all my clients are now basically the same as military clients. So not to say like we're in a position of having an advantage over other people, but we're kind of, our community's kind of used to dealing with things in this way. So it isn't so much of a shock to have to do things virtually or from afar. It's still just as unsettling. I mean, I won't lie. Like, it's an uneasy thing to do. So that's more reason to have someone who's really accustomed to operating this way. So how much have you had to, you haven't had to change really the way that you do long distance relocations. You're just doing them more frequently now.
Yeah, and that's basically it. So I, instead of going to look at, normally I want to take my clients to go look at between 8 and 10 properties. The first one out of the gate, statistically speaking, a buyer will look at between 8 and 10 properties to before they make a decision and feel comfortable making a decision. So that has gotten much smaller. Now the clients, were really looking at the pictures. I'm doing a lot more online research and talking with the agents. There's a lot of stuff that goes on kind of behind the scenes to find out, like, what is the situation with this person, with this seller, with this house, what are we looking at, before I even walk in the property? Because of course I want to be safe as well. My husband's an independent duty corpsman, and so we're all, germ, I don't know, phobic, I don't know. But so we're taking all the proper precautions to go into a property and be able to show the house and do it in a way that still makes the clients feel like they're actually able to see the property if they don't get the chance to walk through. If we do walk through the property, we narrow it down. I'm not showing that many. No, we cannot go see, maybe it'll work. Normally we do that. Now it's more like, no, I need to know that this is really something that you could be in the realm of possibility. And so it's kind of, if you're indecisive about it, I don't suggest trying to do this. But if you are ready to move and purchase, then this is the way to go, because it still can be done. You've got to have somebody that's trustworthy, that you're really comfortable with, and asking very open and honest questions and getting honest and open answers, because it's a different animal, but it can be done. And then we've got things with the state that are particularly in California, where should your orders get canceled, it's more so than normal. If they get canceled because of COVID, then we're able to get the earnest money deposit back. We've got people that, unfortunately, things are falling out of escrow because people are being laid off or being furloughed. So you're seeing some weird things where it's like, what's wrong with the property? Not all the time is anything wrong with the property. It's just the circumstance of where we are and what's going on right now.
Yeah, I've been hearing a little bit about that too. So, okay, but you brought up a good point, and I want to spend some time there about being a good customer, like a prepared client in this era. We're having to skip a lot of the steps that most people do, right? So, in order to accelerate the process and to be the most well-prepared, informed client, let's say I'm piecing to San Diego, God, if only, if I were headed your way, and like maybe on the initial intake or like consult, what are some things that you might tell me to go ahead and start learning about, making decisions about, how to prioritize? Like, what are just some of the tips to help prepare us to be able to skip as many steps as possible and be really efficient in the process?
Yeah, so I would say, number one, I've always done this. I do this with everyone, which is to make sure that you are working with an agent that gives a solid buyer consultation. And what I mean by that, I always explain to my clients that before we even go look at a single house, I want to meet with you, talk about how the process works so that you understand and know what's coming. Understand how I work, because there are some things that are a little bit different. I answer any and all of your questions, so that way you're comfortable again with the process. And then we develop a plan together. So that's my standard operating procedure in general. Now everything has just been on Zoom or on Skype or FaceTime or Instagram chat or whatever. Like, right, there's so many options now. And so we sit down and we meet like this. Sorry, and we go over really detailed about the process. And then of course, I always want to explain, especially here in San Diego, right, is even the guy with the $2 million budget wants what costs $3 million in San Diego. Here is a location that is absolutely like, there is always going to be some compromise to be made. And so when you're deciding on a house, there's always something that's going to give, and it's either going to be the location of the home, the size of the home, the amenities that come with the home, or the price. So in other words, I can get you exactly what you want in the price range that you want, but it's not going to be in the location that you want. Or I can get you the location that you want, but it's going to be smaller and it's going to cost you more. And maybe that washer and dryer is in the garage instead of in the property, right? So we go over that and start to really talk about, you know, you really want to think about and consider what is super, super important to you. And as you're looking through the pictures, you'll start to realize and recognize that, like, you know what, maybe I don't need, you know, especially if you're coming here, right? Maybe I don't need 3,000 square feet. You don't. You know, maybe I don't need that much square footage. Maybe I am willing to commute a little bit farther and pay the toll. Maybe I don't need the pool. I just need the backyard. Like, and so you just kind of go through all of this and we narrow it down as much as possible. And then, of course, I have an app where you can go and look at property and save it and communicate with me directly through the map. And that helps out because we have habits that we don't even know that we do. So, for example, if you tell me I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage in this neighborhood, in this price point, must have a washer and dryer in the unit. Great. That's what I'm going to do. And then as you look, you start going, well, maybe I can go to this area, or maybe I can, and you don't even realize that you're doing it. And this allows me to kind of get into your mind and figure out what's really important. And maybe some things are prioritized. If we had some more time, I'd tell you about a pool with one of my clients that she was doing completely opposite of what she was telling me. And the only reason is because of what she was gravitating toward. But we were eventually able to find her something. So
that's so funny. And you know what? That reminds me of, so I rented a gown from this Rent the Runway app not too long ago. And in my mind, I thought, like, I want this cut and this style. But then we had a hiccup with the delivery and whatever. So I called the consultant and she's like, it's interesting that you're telling me you want this because everything that you're landing on is this and it's totally different style. She's like, I think you're just not there yet with your assessment of what you think you want. And I'm sure the same thing could be true for a home. And I love what you said about, like, you know, there's something's going to give. There's a sacrifice to be made somewhere. And if you don't live in the area, you don't know what those sacrifices are. And you don't know really what the priorities are. Like, the coast is everything in San Diego, right? Like, I mean, you really want to, why else would you live there if you're not? So give up the space, right? Like, but you're not going to think that way if you're used to living here in Fayetteville where space is the price. Like, you want the big square footage because you can have it here. Like, it's not as much of a draw. Like, so I love the way that, because you've moved around, because you're used to working with military clients, you know what they don't know. They're like, they don't even know what to ask sometimes. And so you can kind of shortcut all of that. Whereas someone maybe could, you know, otherwise, but you're again, specifically vetted for that reason. I love that. Tell us a little bit about San Diego. So I know there are a billion bases there, specifically if you're Navy. So I know it's going to be hard to, like, you know, get too specific. So let's just talk, like, generally. And you're maybe going to be working, your spouse or service member will be working kind of downtown-ish. Let's just say that for simplicity's sake. What do we need to know about the areas and, like, the characteristics of each kind of region of the San Diego area?
Well, there's really everything. So that's kind of the nice thing, is if you are into parks, we have Balboa Park. It's one of the most beautiful places, and Balboa Hospital is there. Naval Medical Center San Diego is there. It's beautiful. It is very close to downtown, and so it's very expensive to live in those neighborhoods. You're likely to find something that is 1,100 square feet, and it's going to run you about $800,000. Like, the numbers that we speak in are gigantic. 32nd Street is right on the water, obviously. And that's in not the greatest of neighborhoods. So that's right around that location. So I don't know that I would necessarily recommend that you buy something in that location, but it is an up and coming area. So if you are my younger ones, my single ones, or my newly married ones, and they don't really have kids yet, and they want to get in on the ground floor early before an area is coming up, that's definitely an up and coming area, which is Barrio Logan. And then you've got everything in between. We have, if you want to surf, we've got the coastal locations, obviously, right? If you want the mountains and you want to hike, well, we've got Mission Trails Park, which has, it's tens of thousands of acres of land that you can go and walk through and hike and get some serious things and like get lost and everything else. And then we've also got, some areas of suburbia where you're going to find exactly what you're looking for, right? The Target, the Walmart, the, big chain grocery stores, whatever it is that you're looking for, that's going to be there. And so these are all the things that I kind of talk about with anybody that's coming into the area is, what do you like to do? Do you want walkable, or do you want, the community that we're all used to, the suburbia, the I want to know what I'm walking into, or do you want something funky? San Diego is I believe we have more breweries per capita than any other location in the United States. So if you're a beer lover, like, that's great.
I think we have a write-up about the breweries in San Diego. We'll have to check the journal for that. I'm pretty sure we covered that. Oh, you frozen. All right, I'm going to give Molly a chance to come back. I think her Skype froze up on me. Yeah, so check out I was showing you guys the website, and that may have actually been what messed her up. There she is. Hey, you're back.
Here, okay.
Sorry, my bad. That was me. I was trying to get fancy with my screen, and I think I overloaded and broke it. We were talking about breweries.
Breweries, yes. Yeah. If you're like me into wine, that's an hour up the road in Temecula. But a huge thing to consider here, right, is commute times. And there are pockets of neighborhoods in San Diego that people don't know about. So, like, if you are looking for horse country, a lot of people will tell you to go east because that's where some of the bigger pieces of land are. But in reality, where I live, which is 9 miles from 32nd Street, it's a 15-minute commute. I actually live in a community where horses you're going to see them walking through the streets. So it's a really small pocket. And it's very interesting. My neighbor has chickens. So, and I'm downtown. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's really an area where you want to dig deep into, what do I do? How do I spend my time? What do I want to be around? And then kind of go based on that. I know that you guys have done one on lots of different neighborhoods and things like that I love to use. And it really does, because you can cross one street and and it's a totally different vibe, totally different feel.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's actually really, really neat. Yeah.
So we actually have, and we were talking more about like determining what it is that you want, what's important to you. We have a great toolkit. It's called the Neighborhood Comparison Guide, and it actually kind of walks you through how to evaluate that based on your daily patterns. So we call it your pattern of life. So what things are important to you, and go ahead and start identifying them, kind of putting them on a scale. Again, what are we willing to sacrifice, or maybe spend more effort getting to, or traveling to, whatever, and then kind of plotting things on a map. Even, you could get as fancy about this as you want, but if you come with all of this information and you hand that to Molly and say, hey, I've already done all my research, I've been on the MILLIE website, I know that this kind of region or this area looks amazing from the photography that we have, from our military spouses who live there, who shot it literally from their lens, their eyes. I know that this area kind of looks like it's this much of a commute. Tell me more about that. Like, can we dig a little deeper? That's when you're going to get into working with an expert in the region, one of our agent heroes, hopefully, preferably, who can really use what you've kind of prepped yourself for. Oh my gosh. And think about how much time you could save. You're not having to do all the preliminary stuff that I don't really think we have time for this season. So use this time wisely, you guys, is all I'm saying. You're sitting home anyway.
The biggest thing here is going to be the commute, where normally you're like, oh, 20 minutes is not a big deal, 20 miles, and and 20 miles here.
Right.
That's a big area.
Yeah.
And traffic is a beast. So it's definitely something to consider. But it's like you said, it's all the prep work, which I've gotten people that are like, our orders are due. We're going to be moving there in June. Can we start looking at houses? Well, no, not really, because our market moves super, super fast. So that house that you fall in love with now won't be available then. But let's talk more about what it is that you're looking for. And I do work with people for months and months. I guess June was a bad example because we're already at the end of April. December. Let's go with December.
Yeah. That should be okay. We should be fine.
I know. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm lost all track of time. But we're so used to planning, and we want to kind of put the cart before the horse and find the house and then back up. And I also coach and train a ton of agents as well. And that's kind of what we talk about, is explaining how the process works. And that way, because people get excited and they want to move forward on this and that. And really, it's all that prep work that means when you find that house that you believe will work for you, then it moves really quickly.
Yeah.
But it's all that, all that time period ahead of time where we're really, really prepping. And now you're absolutely right. If you're moving in from outside of the area with, my husband just told me like TMO is on hold, so they're not even moving people. And then you've got the ban on family travel, and I can't even keep up with everything hardly that's going on. Oh, you just turned green. That's interesting.
Oh, that's not an omen.
All the weirdness that we get anyways, and then turn around and here we go. Like, it's a hurry up and wait, Semper Gumby, just always, we're prepping for everything. I'll never forget one year I was prepping for, we were going to PCS. We were supposed to go to Florida, and then they decided, no, we don't want you to go to another school. So we want you to go to the fleet. So I said, okay. He sends me the orders. Now I'm going to go to Greece. I had it in my brain. That's where we're going. That's where we're going. And he calls me and says, where do you want to go? And I said, okay, I think Greece. Greece is the one. And he goes, okay. And he looks over and he goes, Chief, what do you got? And he says, I have Gulfport, Mississippi, and K-Bay, Hawaii. And he was like, we're going to Hawaii. Click.
That's an easy choice.
But it was just like, in the span of an hour, I was going from Florida to Greece to Hawaii. And that's where we ended up going and living and loving it for 3 years. But yeah, it was just, that's how fast things can change here. And it's a very different animal.
And we're no stranger to it, right? I mean, and you guys, I'm loving hearing like of the precautions. So like, maybe talk me through what you guys are doing to stay safe. First of all, because I know you're putting yourself out there as an essential worker to help people make these transactions and have housing when they get there, because that's huge. Can you walk me through like what that looks like as far as the transaction is concerned? I know you mentioned like the FaceTime tours and things like that, but what else are you doing? Maybe I have a home and I'm wanting to list it for sale. That seems like a more like scary position to be in. So how would you approach that situation?
So I actually have one of those right now where we are going to be listing his property. He kind of freaked out for a second, and I don't want strangers walking through my house. And so what we did is we're doing a FaceTime meeting or a Zoom meeting, whatever. And there you are. But we're doing like a FaceTime meeting where he's going to walk me through the property so that I can kind of go over the things that I would normally go through when we walk through the property to talk about property staging and cleaning and positioning and what I call pre-packing, which is like, you're going to have to move anyway. So let's, as agents, we like to call it decluttering, but that implies people have clutter, and it's not clutter, it's their things. Right. And so, or depersonalizing. And I'm like, well, that's not exact, so it's kind of one of those weird ones. So I call it pre-packing because you're going to have to pack that stuff up anyway. So
let's get it out term, Molly, look at you. Like pre-pack, standard operating procedures. We can tell, we know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But no, so we're I'm staying away as much as possible, but still getting him through the process. Now, ultimately, I will need to go in, and I will probably take my photographer, but we even have the ability, some kind of tips and tricks for the sellers themselves to take, if let's say they're a high risk population, right? Okay, so now you're going to take your high resolution photos and you're going to take pictures in specific angles and take a bunch, send them to me, and then we have a program within our brokerage where we can splice those together to make it look like a real tour, right? Because you're doing pictures and you're doing video with your phone, but then we have the people that are able to turn that into a professional looking video, and people are walking through and looking at that. The other thing is, before they're allowed in the property, we need to make sure that the buyer is pre-approved for that purchase price and gets the warm fuzzies from my lender that yes, they can actually move forward with this. This is not, I want to see what their house looks like and their furniture and placement. And I mean, you get some weird things going on, right? And so all of the buyers need to be pre-qualified before they move in. And we go through all these different aspects of it. And then of course, paperwork is easy nowadays with DocuSign and which is just remote signing companies. So all the paperwork goes out that way. And we also have notaries, mobile notaries. So I've had people that have closed in fact, they were some people that came from Hawaii. I met them the day of the home inspection, and then they left and went to PCS leave in Texas, signed their documents, and when they came back, I gave them their keys. That's the only time that I saw them physically in person. And they've been some of my like best clients just through, communicating remotely. It's perfectly fine. And we are taking a lot of steps. So if you come into the house, there's a document that you have to sign to hold the seller harmless should you come down with any kind of illness later. Okay. Especially because the incubation period is so long. Yeah. Where you can be carrying it and not have any signs. And so, so we've got documents that both the agent and the people have to sign. The inspectors have got all of their garb on, and they're no longer allowing the buyers to come through for the inspection. So when we show up, my job as the agent is to open the door, and then I let the inspector do their thing. And when he's done, I lock it back up, and then we do a video conference with my buyers to go over the report and what it actually says. So it, there is still some exposure or opportunities for exposure. Obviously, if you're listing your property, at some point people really do want to walk through. Yeah. But we have that. And some of the things, if I can, do we have time for me to just kind of go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the things that we've noticed is, and it's a little less impactful for military families who have the steady paycheck, but a lot of us are married to spouses who have got jobs where we've really been impacted, and we can no longer make our mortgage payment, or we can no longer we're no longer able to stay here and sustain our lifestyle within this house. There are specific programs such as the forbearance or the deferment programs. Just so everybody understands the difference, forbearance means that you still owe that money at the end of the time period where we are in shelter in place, but come due, those 3 months, let's say, could come due. They could call that loan the day that the shelter in place order is lifted that next month. So that's really, really, yeah. Now, deferment is different. Deferment is what everybody thinks it is, which is I'm not going to make my house payment and they're going to tack it on to the very end of it. And so I'm just going to pick up my regular house payment as soon as this is over, but it's going to stretch it out to 30 years and 3 months or whatever, or 6 months or however long. If that's the case, please talk to a real estate advisor. Feel free to call me to talk about it, because a lot of people are going to get smacked in the face when this is done. Yeah. If they take advantage of some of these benefits. Yeah. Right. And I've just been on this kick lately of understand what they're talking about, because like I said, we own a rental property by the beach, and I went to go look it up thinking, well, maybe, this, if my renters can't pay, then maybe I need to do this. And it literally, when you start to read the details of it, They will restructure your loan after the fact. They will tack it all on your
Yes.
house payment. And especially because the house payments here, it's sticker shock out here.
Yeah.
And so I figured that if I took 3 months and had a year to pay back that 3 months, my house payment would go up by $1,000 a month just to get that 3 months paid back. So there's a lot of, so there's a lot of details, but if you are one of those that is in that predicament of, we don't know what to do because we can't do the deferment, and even when we come out of this, it's going to take us longer to recover, talk to your real estate professional about preparing for that scenario now, because maybe you need to sell the house to get out from underneath it, because you know, it's not going to be a good viable decision for you to keep it. And we don't want anybody, especially with security clearances, you don't want anybody who is ruining their credit, going into foreclosure proceedings or anything along those lines. Like, if you have a solid real estate professional that understands all the different idiosyncrasies of our lifestyle, such as clearances, then you have the ability to talk through some of these things and think, you know, just the next step, just slightly ahead, without, because we tend to get tunnel vision in something like this.
That is fantastic advice. And I'm really glad you said that, because it's something that you maybe like, you see the carrot dangling and you're like, oh, that would be so helpful right now. But it's not, you're not forgiven from paying your mortgage. Like, so that money comes from somewhere. It's just like everything else. Don't take if your paycheck is wrong and they pay you too much, don't spend it. You know, they're going to take it back. There's no free money. Right? We've all gotten that. Like, what is this extra chunk of money? Oh, you were supposed to spend that on and we didn't. We took a treat. So been there, done that. Be sure to investigate. And this math seems complicated. And honestly, it's overwhelming for me. It's not my realm. It's not what I do day in and day out. So find the folks that do this. And you're right. Somebody like Molly, somebody that knows and understands and can think 4 steps ahead instead of just right now in this moment where we are. Because we're in this moment and we're like freaking out because there's so many things on our plate. You know, deployments, and are we PCSing, and move schedules and all kinds of things. Like, it's too much, y'all. So like, find someone that you trust to ask these questions and help you think through these things and help build out projections. You know, option A, B, and C. This is what this looks like. Great point. Thank you for that. All right, we could do this all day, truthfully. I would kind of like to. Is it happy hour yet? No, probably not for you yet.
It's always happy hour here.
Please tell me about the RV. I love it.
This is mine. You know, my husband we were geo-batching for 3 years. So my husband was stationed in Gulfport, Mississippi when I was out here. And I mean, I got, you know, my son's in Camp Pendleton. My daughter is in college. I got a kid in school. So it was like, I'm not moving. And I needed a place to like totally, that was mine, that I could go away and hide. And I love to camp. And so I finally got, like, on my goal sheet was an Airstream. So I got the smallest Airstream that there is. It's itty bitty. It's just good for me. And when the shelter in place order came, we have 3 Great Danes and 2 Boston Terriers. And like, we just have a busy house anyways. And so, I needed to work. I'm on like this all day long. And you can't do that with the dogs running through the house. And so I finally decided, you know what, my Airstream is going to become my home office. So this is where I've been working at my little kitchen table.
I'm so obsessed. I love it. It's like your she shed. It's like a little mobile she shed.
Yes, that's exactly. Oh, and it's all kinds of girly, just so that way my husband never gets the wrong idea. Like, it's ridiculous. Everything is, there's a whole bunch of pink, and
I see the twinkle lights and your cool shell. It's
cool.
All right. Shell. Goals, girl. So, you're living in a she shed in San Diego. I love it.
Oh yeah. So I'm in my front yard, like, doo-doo-doo.
Okay. Well, I'm going to come visit as soon as this is all over with. I can't wait to have a little martini in your she shed.
There you go.
Talk about real estate. Molly, thank you so much for the time and being so agile and jumping on here. Like, literally, y'all, it hasn't even been 24 hours since I asked her. She jumped at the chance and then yelled at me for not having later options.
Yeah, I don't do 8 a.m.
Well, East Coast, West Coast. You know, I wasn't thinking that through. So.
Well, and that's, some of the options were like 6 a.m. I was like, girl, you don't want me on at 6 a.m.
Trust me, you wouldn't want me that time either. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. I
So,
appreciate your time.
of course.
Please, you guys
Thank you
look
so
up
much.
Molly if you're headed to San Diego. She is, as you can tell, a wealth of information. Been there, done that. She is like the person to go to. So thank you again for your expertise. Thank you for being a part of our Agent Hero network so that we know if someone connects with us, you are the type of agent they will work with. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming on and showcasing that for us.
Thanks
Okay.
for having me.
You're so welcome. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day, Molly. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, everyone, that'll do it for this today's episode. We're going to bring you more of these coming next week. We will try to zero in on different duty stations or areas as we go along. If you have requests, you are headed somewhere and you would like to hear information just like that about your upcoming duty station, if you need to gather some information quickly, make connections, you name it, let us know. We will bring those folks to you via this live stream platform. Also, if you want to connect with one of these agents, you'll just head down to the very first comment in the live stream comment box here and connect with one of our agents. Our concierge will pair you with somebody just like Molly wherever you're headed. We have a network of over 1,000 agents just like her standing by and ready to help you guys out. And then also don't forget about the resources on the website that are free and ready for you to just go and grab and download and do your reading. So until next time, you guys, thanks so much. Stay safe, stay home, and good luck out there.